The early 2030s presented a profoundly different America. It was a nation quietly humming with a new kind of energy, one that was not forged in steel mills or powered by fossil fuels, but born from silicon and data. Across the country, particularly in regions once known for industry or agriculture, massive new structures began to dominate the horizon. These were the hyperscale data centers, sprawling complexes that served as the digital heart of the nation. They were the physical homes for an invisible, yet immensely powerful, new workforce. This was the era of the synthetic employee, the AI agent, and their presence was changing the very fabric of American society in ways few had predicted just a decade earlier. Inside these climate-controlled fortresses, trillions of calculations happened every second. This computational power fueled the rise of sophisticated AI agents, digital entities capable of performing complex cognitive tasks. They were not robots in the physical sense, but lines of code and neural networks that lived on servers. These digital workers began to populate the virtual halls of corporate America. They were tireless, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without needing breaks or benefits. The initial rollout was gradual, but by 2032, the adoption rate had exploded. Companies found they could deploy thousands of these agents almost overnight, creating a workforce that was scalable, efficient, and incredibly cost-effective. The change was most dramatic in white-collar professions that had long been considered secure. Law firms began using AI agents to conduct legal research, review documents, and draft contracts with astonishing speed and accuracy. Accounting firms deployed armies of digital accountants to manage ledgers, conduct audits, and process financial statements, eliminating human error from the equation. In the media, AI journalists wrote market reports, summarized sporting events, and even generated simple news articles. These were not just tools, they were autonomous workers, integrated deeply into the daily operations of countless businesses, fundamentally altering the nature of office work itself. This transformation was driven by a relentless corporate pursuit of efficiency and growth. The promise of a flawless, infinitely scalable workforce was too compelling for executives and shareholders to ignore. The initial investment in developing or licensing these AI systems was significant, but the long-term savings were astronomical. Human resources departments were downsized as AI took over scheduling and payroll. Junior associate roles in many fields all but vanished, replaced by AI agents that could perform the same tasks faster and for a fraction of the cost. America was pioneering a new economic model, one built not on human labor, but on the power of artificial intelligence. The economic impact of this synthetic workforce boom was immediate and staggering. National productivity, a measure that had seen sluggish growth for decades, suddenly surged at a rate not seen since the post-war industrial boom. Companies that fully embraced AI integration reported efficiency gains of 300 to 400%. Projects that once took months of human effort were now completed in days. This hyper-productivity supercharged the American economy. The gross domestic product climbed to unprecedented heights, and the stock market soared as corporate profits broke records quarter after quarter. The nation was experiencing an economic renaissance, powered entirely by its new digital workforce. This domestic success quickly translated into global economic power. American technology companies, having perfected their AI systems at home, began exporting these digital workers as a service. Just as the world had once relied on the Middle East for oil, it now turned to the United States for cognitive labor. A German manufacturing firm could license a fleet of American AI accountants. A Japanese bank could hire American AI analysts to manage risk. This created a powerful new export category for the United States, one that was more valuable than manufactured goods or agricultural products. The demand was insatiable, and it flooded the United States with foreign capital. The international demand for American AI services had a profound effect on the US dollar. As countries and corporations around the globe paid for these services, the dollar became stronger than ever. It solidified its position as the world's undisputed reserve currency, giving the United States immense financial leverage on the global stage. AI had become the new oil, a strategic asset that reshaped international trade and finance. The headquarters of major AI developers in cities like Austin, Seattle, and Silicon Valley became the new centers of global economic influence, dictating the terms of this new technological era and reaping the enormous financial rewards. This new reality was celebrated in Washington and on Wall Street as a triumph of American innovation. The narrative was one of a nation that had successfully reinvented itself for the 21st century. Pundits and politicians pointed to the booming GDP and the strength of the dollar as clear evidence of success. The United States was not just leading the world in technology, it was exporting the very engine of modern productivity. For a time, it seemed as though this AI-driven prosperity had solved America's economic challenges, ushering in a golden age of limitless growth and unparalleled national wealth. Beneath the glittering surface of economic growth, however, a different story was unfolding for millions of ordinary Americans. While the corporations that developed and deployed AI saw their valuations skyrocket into the trillions, the benefits did not trickle down to the broader population. The wealth being generated was concentrated in the hands of a small number of tech executives, engineers, and major shareholders. These companies became the most powerful and profitable entities in human history, creating a new class of ultra-wealthy individuals. Yet, for many, this boom felt distant and inaccessible, a spectacle to be watched on the news rather than a reality to be experienced. The core issue was the displacement of human labor. As AI agents took over routine cognitive tasks, the demand for human workers in those fields collapsed. Paralegals, bookkeepers, junior analysts, and administrative staff found their jobs disappearing. While new roles in AI management and data science emerged, they required highly specialized skills that most of the displaced workforce did not possess. This led to a stark economic divergence. The wages for those who could work with and manage AI systems soared, while the wages for everyone else stagnated or declined. The promise that technology would create more jobs than it destroyed was, for the first time, in serious doubt. Facing the prospect of mass technological unemployment and growing social unrest, the U.S. government was forced to act. Lawmakers introduced a novel concept, the AI productivity tax. This was a federal tax levied on the economic output generated by AI agents, designed to capture a portion of the immense profits for public use. The idea was to ensure that the nation as a whole benefited from the productivity gains of AI, not just the companies that own the technology. This new revenue stream quickly generated a significant, albeit short-term, budget surplus, providing the government with new funds to address the social consequences of the AI revolution. With this new tax revenue, the government began experimenting with bold social policies. Several cities and states were selected to launch pilot programs for universal basic income. In places like Detroit, Baltimore, and rural Appalachia, thousands of displaced workers began receiving a monthly stipend, no strings attached. The goal was to provide a safety net, allowing people to meet their basic needs while they retrained or sought new kinds of work in a rapidly changing economy. These programs were controversial and heavily debated, but they represented the first serious attempt by a government to manage the societal shift caused by a synthetic workforce. The era of American AI dominance was not destined to last forever. Other nations, watching the United States accumulate immense wealth and geopolitical power, grew increasingly alarmed. They realized that their economic dependence on American AI services made them vulnerable. Being a customer in the age of AI meant sending vast sums of money to U.S. tech giants and allowing a foreign power to control the engine of their own domestic productivity. A global consensus began to form. Every major nation needed to develop its own sovereign AI capabilities to remain competitive and secure its economic future. This realization sparked a new kind of global arms race, but one fought with algorithms and processing power instead of missiles. The European Union, China, India, and other regional powers began pouring billions into their own national AI initiatives. They funded research, built their own data centers, and enacted protectionist policies to nurture their domestic AI industries. The goal was to break free from their reliance on American technology and create their own synthetic workforces. The open, globalized digital economy of the 2020s gave way to a more fractured and competitive landscape, with nations seeking to wall off their digital ecosystems. This new competition created a world fraught with tension. The United States, keen to protect its lead, implemented stricter controls on technology exports and intellectual property. Other countries accused the United States of technological protectionism. Disputes over data sovereignty, algorithmic standards, and AI ethics became common flashpoints in international relations. The spirit of global cooperation that had characterized earlier technological advancements was replaced by a zero-sum mentality. Each nation viewed AI not just as a tool for economic growth, but as a critical element of national security and a key to global influence in the 21st century. By the late 2030s, the world had entered a new, more uncertain phase. The initial boom driven by American AI had given way to a tense, multipolar technological landscape. The United States was no longer the sole provider of the world's digital labor. It was now just one of several major players in a high-stakes global competition. The AI revolution had undeniably unleashed incredible productivity and wealth, but it had also created deep economic divisions at home and sowed the seeds of a new, more complex, and potentially more dangerous form of global rivalry. The future was here, but it was far from settled.